everyone, and welcome back to the Triforce podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Oh man, thanks for being here. Gosh, what a time!
It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to hang out with my buds.
Yeah.
And also thanks to the audience.
Thank you too. Thanks for listening to this crap.
Cheers.
Are you playing a game, Sips? I can hear some keyboards. What are you playing?
I'm playing Final Fantasy 14.
You are not.
You're playing it while we're doing the podcast.
I always play games while we do the podcast. It's a gaming podcast.
That's so
meant
rude,
to be anyway.
man.
No, listen, this game is so mindless though. Like you just, it's an MMO, right? So it's like, hey, deliver 12 hot dogs to Gary in this faraway place. Okay. And I run there and I deliver the hot dogs. And when I'm done, I get that overwhelming sense of achievement after delivering the hot dogs.
I can hear the keystrokes of you moving to deliver the hot dogs right now.
I do have a mechanical keyboard, so...
so we're gonna... What are you doing right now, and who are you playing? I want to know if you're gonna be playing this through the whole podcast. I'm gonna have to listen to the keystroke noises.
Look,
you're gonna have to tell me more.
I created a new character so that I can stream this a bit later on and maybe see if I can get something going. I created a character called Old Hogan. He is a big brawny bruiser, and right now I'm slaying rats and ladybugs. It's the start of my adventure.
And this cannot wait until 11 when we finish the podcast.
You can't save this as well, this gold for your audience. Do you know what I mean? I feel like you should treat them with it.
No. The thing is, I have much less time nowadays, so I've got to be a lot more efficient. I have to multitask a lot. Even today I did squats while I brushed my teeth.
Did you? That's. I usually just
brush your teeth.
I usually go to the loo and do squats.
Right. Yeah. Well, not me.
In the shower.
Yeah.
I do like all four at once.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
I'm like a machine.
I am too.
I'm
a lean, mean questing machine and squatting machine and toothbrushing machine as well.
Are you concerned that you're not going to be? I mean, the thing about MMOs is that they don't end, right?
No, they never do.
I mean, you're playing, I guess, quests if you just started from literally 10 years ago.
Yes.
And you've got like 4 expansions worth of trying to keep people a monthly subscription going. It's massive, the amount of content in that game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's surprisingly big. Yeah.
Everyone's jumped ship from WoW after all the Blizzard stuff, and everyone's now talking about Final Fantasy 14. It's the hot new MMO. There have been some other ones come out, like New World.
Well, that's not out yet. That's coming out pretty soon. But I think, you know what, Lewis? You particularly, I think you'd like this. It's very focused on solo play for an MMO, which you
I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I played it during the lockdown because I was getting a bit lonely a year ago, and it was on offer for 95% off or something. So I was like, oh, I'll pick it up.
Yeah.
And it had a free month, so I was like, oh, I don't want to pay for a month. But no, I didn't renew my subscription.
No, funny story from me in that regard. I subscribed to this game for about 400 days. I got all these rewards for being subscribed and everything. Total playtime, like 2 hours. Just didn't cancel my sub. I hated the website, the interface, and couldn't bear to do it, and just kept putting it off. Didn't realize that a year had gone by, so I got to get my money's worth of this game now. I've paid a year's worth of subscription for it, and I haven't played it, so
I subscribed to Google's thing, Stadia, for a year by accident.
Oh, nice.
And I just cancelled that this week. But I signed up because it had Orcs Must Die 3 on it, which you played recently.
Yeah, I loved it.
Because that just came out on Steam, and I was like, oh shit, that's the game I subscribed to Stadia for. I wonder whether I'm still... Of course I am.
Yeah.
That's how they get you. But Orcs Must Die 3 is okay.
It's good.
I saw you streaming it.
I loved it.
So you having fun with it.
I thought it was great.
Humankind came out this week, which I had quite a bit of fun with. I think it's quite fun.
Yeah, I played it a while back. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It's
got the whole of it now, which it's a bit weird, but it's pretty good.
Is it weird because you're not good at it yet, or is it weird because it's actually weird? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
I tried playing it when it was available. I think it was on Epic or something, and you could play the beta or something. It's kind of like Civ, right? But it was like...
They had a series of pre-releases. They've made Endless Legend. They've made these strategy games before, which have been okay.
Yeah, okay. my biggest problem is because I played that other one. What's it called? Ancient World.
Oh, well,
Man,
yeah,
what was
sure.
that? What was that game? Sorry to derail here slightly, but what was that game that we played? Was it Off-World Trading Company? Remember when we played it and the voice lines were like not complete or whatever?
Yeah, that was such a good game.
I hate these damn bastards.
Oh yeah, God.
Man, that was
funny.
so funny.
The thing with Old World is that they took one of the most frustrating parts out of all of those 4Xs. Out of every 4X I've ever played, which is it takes forever to move your fucking units around. Like, really frustratingly. And that's what makes it board gamey. So Old World doesn't really have that. You can move your lads quite far. And what limits it is that you have a number of orders that you can give per turn. But your unit mobility is quite large. And it should be.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying 5 years have passed, why have my lads moved 2 tiles in 5 years? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, to have this historical thing is like, this is going to take us 15 turns to build. That's like hundreds of years. Okay, fair enough. But then why does it take my lads that long to move from one end of my small empire to the other? It's kind of silly. So they kind of took that out. Because I always found it made war and it made responding to war so fucking difficult and encouraged you to just have a small turtly empire. Because you can't, like, I'm not even talking like conquering half the world like ancient Rome or whatever. I'm just talking about a little 3 or 4 city empire. Why does it take me 10 turns to move my lads? It's daft. So they took that out of it.
That's like the equivalent of 100 years of time to like
but
walk in somewhere.
What was it? Ancient, not ancient legend. What was it?
Endless Legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your lads move unbelievably slowly in that. And like, even though they've got all this magic and they can build cities, you have to research roads, which I never understood. They know how to do roads.
Roads don't just pave themselves, Flax.
It's just stupid.
You have to learn how to do it.
Yeah, but we can build a tower that reaches higher than any building in the city. No problem. Roads? What's that? What the fuck, man? Give us roads. They're so stupid. Why can't I build city walls?
I'd like to see you make a road, Mr.
I can make a road right
roads
now.
Are stupid. You couldn't. It wouldn't be a good road. Nobody'd want to use it. It'd be a shit road.
What are you talking about? I'm not making a road.
It'd be a terrible road.
No,
yeah,
I'm not making a road.
Yeah, but you seem to hold a lot of judgment towards people who want to aspire to make a road.
No, I'm saying why don't they start with road technology, given that they also have all this engineering technology? I'm not an engineer. They clearly have engineers.
Clearly not.
Because of the shit they've built.
They've started with like wizards. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like.
What do you think? They should conjure a road. They should Death Stranding a road. You just
fucking whatever, do it.
Spawn one in.
But the funny thing is, with Endless Legend, I always wanted a Civ version of it because it was all crap. Like, it was always like, what should I research? Oh, you want to research spongulating magic wingles.
Which has been a long time complaint of ours about 4X games, is if it's set in a non-Earth universe, the technology needs to have names that sound like real things. You cannot call it some crazy fucking word and have some image of something that doesn't look like anything you've ever seen and be like, this will give you access to nurdles and creepflobbles. Yeah. I don't know what any of this is.
Those are accessible early in the game? That sounds a little
crazy.
bit OP, actually.
Earlier than roads, mate.
That's stupid as hell. You start off with the nurbles and flurbles straight up.
It's crazy.
Okay, well,
that's my whole point.
That's a no buy from me.
No buy.
That's no buy.
So yeah, I've been doing that.
Hey, listen, Flex. Games that you might like if you've never played it before. I would recommend trying out Project Zomboid. It's changed a lot. If you played it a long time ago,
I played it a very long time ago.
Okay, if you played it a very long time ago,
and I hated it.
What you want to do is boot it up again, go to the betas setting in Steam and go for build 41, which has like all the new stuff that they're working on. Man, it's great. It's changed a lot. It's really fun.
So is it still like a almost top-down-ish, you're a lad surviving in a town and you go around and try and like
loot and stuff. It's
live
a bit like,
through the day and the night and all the rest of it, and you can barricade windows and doors and things like that.
And then and fight zombies and try to survive. And
is it a single player game?
It's single player with multiplayer coming. You will be able to play it multiplayer.
That sounds like it might be quite fun.
Yeah, because you can imagine. I think when I tried playing multiplayer, we had it set up for when you joined, if you died, you were banned from the server, so you couldn't just come back. You know, like as a new guy or whatever.
That's
it was
awesome.
Like, yeah. So like, there's definitely things that you can do to make it a bit more interesting. If you play solo, if you load up a map and you play a character and your character dies and gets turned into a zombie, you can then create a character on the same map and go and hunt down your previous zombified character, kill it, and take all of his stuff, and you'll still have access to any bases or anything that you built or whatever, which is kind of cool too. We had a couple of runs, like I've been playing it recently, had a couple of runs where I spawned in almost right next to where my previous guy died, so I was able to just quickly pick up where I left off. Or if you want to go for like the true hardcore experience, just make a new map every time you die and start from scratch, which is pretty fun too. But it's nice. It's got all the it's got lots of like really sort of deep mechanics and stuff, and it's just really fun to try to survive. And
I'll give it a go.
Yeah, it's
I mean, at the moment,
sure.
I'm on a Rimworld tip. So I've just been playing that all for the last couple of weeks. Because they've just this ideology thing has come out for it, where you can design a religion. And some people were asking, well, what's the point? But if you think about it, a lot of people that play Rimworld want to play it a different way. Some people like I just like to sort of turtle and try and get my guys into a decent place where we can build the ship and fuck off. Yeah. Other people want to build like, I harvest the organs of my prisoners and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. So if you want, like, I actually, but it's difficult because sometimes
I like how those are the two play styles.
Those are. But the thing is, like,
they're
sometimes
not mutually exclusive.
Well, no, they are, because it pisses off your colonists if you do that.
But have you ever tried playing it like this, Flax? Every time somebody annoys you, even if it's an animal or whatever, you have to administer a smoke leaf joint to them, whether they like it or not.
No, I haven't. Because you can do that.
That's a fun way of playing too.
But if you wanted, you could make it so that your people actively seek that out. So previously, sometimes you would have this funky playstyle, but your people would get upset about it. Like they'd be like, "Eat human meat and stuff."
You say that people don't actively hunt out a smoke leaf joints?
No, well, hey, listen. I don't know if I ever told you this story about the one time I was playing Rimworld. I had a colonist who got into a gunfight and was shot in the head, but didn't die, but had such bad brain damage that they became a vegetable. So they were still alive in a sense, like they were still breathing and just occupying a bed full time. And people would come in and wash them and feed them every day and stuff. So one day we decided, hang on a second, let's make life a little bit more interesting for this person and force them to smoke a joint. Because why not, right? Well, it killed them. They died. So we does the moral of the story is that we
get better.
Can kill, okay? Contrary to popular belief. Yeah,
Noticed.
I thought it would make their life better too, but no, it actually it just aced them.
Can you imagine if he just
away.
stood up and be like, "Wow"?
Just lips touch the doob, and that was it.
Did they administer it wrong or something? Did
I
they
don't
just,
know how you can do that. I mean, they didn't try to shove it up their ass or anything like that.
I think if they've got any kind of brain injury, I think if you take the smoke leaf, it essentially counts as like an injury or a modifier to the brain. So I guess it just pushed them over the edge or something like that. But so if you wanted, you could design a religion where that was like your whole thing was getting high. And you can also have a bunch of cannibal nudists, and they get upset if they're not eating human meat. So if you want to build that kind of sort of run, you can do that. And you get bonuses and you get special rituals. So we have two rituals in my religion: Baldism or Goontopia, I think this one is.
Right.
And you can we have like a big celebration. We have like a big conversion ritual where we try to convert people to our religion. And we also have a public execution ritual. And the best thing is you do the execution on one of your prisoners, and the people will be like, "That was a good execution," and it like gives them a boost in their morale. Or they could be like, "That was a really mediocre execution." I'd love to know what's going on in the execution that you're like, it was okay. Wasn't anything special. And what happens when it's a really corking execution that really cheers everybody up? I want more details.
I guess that was like in medieval times. People would all come out for the executions like it was an event, and they'd buy the peanuts and stand around, eating them and wait for some guy to have his head chopped off. And they want him to. You want to have it a nice clean in one. You don't want him to like miss a few times.
Well, if he was a dickhead, you wouldn't mind that. But I think I don't know if some of it was to see someone famous almost. Like if you're a medieval peasant and suddenly there's the one of Henry VIII's wives he's had enough of, you get to go and see. Wow, there she is, and they're going to cut her head off.
Oh,
yeah, it'll be quite exciting, I guess.
Man, what a game! It's such a good one. It's so good.
Talking about
So good.
about famous people, I was just looking up Zooey Deschanel this morning because I remember that she was in everything a few years ago, and she's not in anything anymore. So here's a list of Zooey Deschanel in the 2000s, between 2000 and 2010, 28 movies between 2000 and 2009. That's a
Okay.
lot. In 2007, she put 5 films out. Wait, sorry, 7
So
films.
wait,
She was
so
in
you're saying
7
her
things.
active period sort of just promptly ended at
She had a decade.
in 2009.
Yes, she had
And
a
she
decade
hasn't done
where she
anything
was in
since.
fucking everything. Then in the 2011, she did a couple of movies. Then there was 4 years before she was in another couple of movies.
Maybe she spent those 4 years just getting real deep into crypto or something.
No,
like,
she
you
did
know?
a TV show called The New Girl. She was in that.
Oh.
But apparently now she's a mum and she did some singing as well, even though her voice kind
Oh.
of annoys me. But it's just weird to think like that an actor could be everywhere in everything seemingly,
Wasn't
and then
she
just
in-
vanishes.
Did she play the lead female role in the movie Elf? Is that
She
the same
was.
person?
That was Zoe Deschanel.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm thinking of the
I've got a
right
few things
person.
to say.
Yes.
Firstly, people come and go, right? There is a prevalent thing where women over a certain age who've been typecast into
Some
the
people
romantic
just come.
comedy are too aged to do. You know, it's horrible in Hollywood. There's a squeeze of these sort of slightly older women
We've
in
spoken
favour
about
of the
this
young,
before,
hot
100%.
romantic comedy star. But see, sometimes people do want to quit when they've got kids to
This
bring
is
up
true.
and
It
families
does.
and
It does
stuff.
definitely happen to women. However, in the case of Brendan Fraser, may I make the point that it also happens to men sometimes? They're doing a bunch
they
of stuff,
put on weight?
and then they just fucking disappear. They just disappear.
No, hasn't disappeared. If anything, he's far more visible than he's ever been. Flax.
He's meant to be coming back.
I'm not. I don't mean to judge, but I mean, if you take a break and you're in the public eye and you come back and you packed it on a little bit, it's not ideal.
Well, but look at Mark Hamill got big and chubby, didn't he? Before the he got before the new Star Wars movies, he got fit. He got like a trainer and stuff. He was quite out of shape, I think.
Sure.
Before the Force Awakens. And
Maybe he
stuff.
just took a break and got deep into crypto and just
Who,
like,
Brendan?
Oh no, Mark Hamill.
Mark
Oh,
Hamill.
Mark
We
Hamill.
moved on from Brendan is so insignificant.
He's not. He was a big star.
He was a
dude.
big star. He was. I know, but he just kind of disappeared, didn't he?
His
I bet-
performance in Quiet American was really good, and I thought, oh, he's going to like move into being like a proper actor.
Yeah.
Rather than
he
just
was
appearing
really good in
goofy
Blast
shit.
from the Past and Encino Man. Oh man.
But see, that's the stuff that I thought like that was him coming up. You know what I mean? Like you get these actors, they can really act, but they
He
get
was in
shit
The
like
Mummy.
George of the Jungle.
Yeah,
That's
George
the kind of movie they get.
I think his biggest movies had to have been The Mummy, right? Like he was.
Yeah, 100%.
By far,
and he was in The Mummy: Tomb of the Dragon Emperor in
shit.
2008,
Shit.
which I hadn't even heard of.
No.
He had an uncredited cameo in G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra, which I mean,
Fuck.
if you've got an
Never seen that one
uncredited
either,
cameo in a bad movie, that's saying something. Then in 2013, he was in 6 movies, none of which I've heard. Some of them were direct to DVD. Direct to DVD in 2013. That's saying something.
That's bad,
'Cause
yeah.
I mean, that's like people were definitely not massively into DVDs in 2013.
Yeah.
Like that's already on the downward spiral. And then he did like one film in 2014, a voice in a terrible computer animated movie. Then he did nothing for 5 years. And then he was in 2 more things you've never heard of. Then another 2 years, and now
There's
apparently
occasionally
he's back.
some sort of like Reddit campaign
Man,
to get him back.
there
I
is, because
feel
people like
bad
him.
for what I said about Brendan Fraser. I was just joking. I hope that you guys realize that. I was just joking. I'm not like a shamer or anything like that. I just thought it was a bit funny, like a low-hanging fruit.
There's a
and all
couple of
that.
actors though who are kind of like Brendan Fraser, who you would mistake for Brendan Fraser, and do you know what I mean in movies? I guess like Nathan Fillion and some other people in the industry have got that similar kind of wise,
goofy
They're
vibe.
Fraser-esque.
Yeah, I just feel like he's accidentally got forgotten because there were like cheap knockoff versions. that ended
No,
up
he was in a
becoming
load
better
of
than
shit.
him.
That's the problem. Is he
Yeah.
was in some absolute shit, and it kind of killed his career.
Wait, I think we also should probably mention if we're talking about famous people that about Sean Locke and that he died.
Yeah,
Yes,
very sad.
very
yeah.
sad.
Very sad, yeah.
Big fan.
He's only 58 years old. He died of
58.
cancer.
Yeah, cancer.
It's
Apparently,
pretty
he was like one of
tragic.
those guys that people consider like a comedian's comedian. Like,
Yes.
one of those guys that other comedians love. In a way that, I mean, I'm not saying Sean Locke wasn't popular. Everybody knew Sean Locke, but it's not like he was, your Michael fucking McIntyre, who's very successful but shit.
Sure.
Sean
Yeah.
Locke was like.
He's very successful, and I agree he's not the best, but every once in a while Michael McIntyre does does make me laugh, honestly. Like he just like it's very rare, but
that is his job.
He does have the ability every once in a while to make me laugh. Like
He's probably not a very
like-
good comedian if that's
which is more than I can say for a lot of people, actually. So it's not,
Right.
I think credit
Well,
where
let's
it's
not name
due.
any names.
He made me laugh one time. So
No, we should name names. Which comedians do you not like?
I'm trying to think of a comedian that I don't like. I'm not a huge fan of Lee Evans, honestly.
Lee Evans hasn't done stand-up for like 20 years.
I know, but when he did do it, I didn't like it really. Like I didn't find it
No,
funny.
he was never funny, but I mean, he was like before him it was Phil Cool. Does anyone remember Phil Cool?
Oh my
No.
god, I don't even remember
So
that.
Phil
no.
Cool was in the 80s. All he did was weird faces.
Oh.
Like that was it. His whole stand-up act was he had a very rubber face.
Yeah.
And that was Phil Cool's whole act pretty much, was he could pull strange faces. Huge in the 80s, Phil Cool, and then vanished, of course. Lee
Right.
Evans' whole thing was he sweated a ridiculous amount and was incredibly active, a very physical comedian on stage.
Yeah.
Was in a few movies. People were like, can we use this? Is this anything? And then it just kind of, everyone was like, not really. So Lee Evans' career just kind of
It's
petered
very
out.
sweaty.
Yeah.
He was very
He's
sweaty.
too
Yeah.
sweaty. He was very
Joe
sweaty.
Pasquale.
He was
had a
big in the
squeaky
80s,
voice.
yeah.
What
That
about
was
Bobby
it.
Davro? Was he a comedian?
Yeah.
I think
But he was
more of
70s
a-
and 80s, Bobby. That.
I would say that I don't like Bobby Davro that much.
Well, no, but
No,
again,
well,
can
no.
you pick something that our audience might have heard of?
What, like more recent sort of?
Yes, something in the last
Stand-up.
decade would be nice.
Maybe someone who's appeared
I don't know.
on.
I feel like stand up is in a weird spot now, because unless you're going to comedy clubs and stuff, the only access you have to stand up is the big Netflix shows and stuff now. I feel
No,
like.
but it's all the panel shows. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean? It's
I
all
guess
the
the
guests
panel
on.
shows too,
It's all the
yeah.
guests on QI and 8 out of 10 Cats and all these. Everything.
What
you
about
know.
that guy? The guy that played the vampire in IT Crowd.
I
Was
tell you
it
who I don't
Noel-
like.
is it-
I
Noel
don't
Fielding?
like Ramesh Ranganathan. I think he's shit.
Oh, I like Ramesh. I think he's really
He
funny.
annoys me. I don't think he's very funny. He's just irritating. There's loads of people actually on this list I don't really like. I don't really think Jason Manford's all that funny. I don't really get James Acaster. I know some people love him to bits. I don't know. I'm just not a fan. I really don't like Jack Whitehall.
Jack Whitehall.
Wow, there's a list of these
is Jack
guys.
Whitehall the guy with his dad? He does
The
stuff with
dad,
his dad.
yeah.
So that show where it's him and his dad was actually quite funny. I don't like his stand up. I don't find Alan Davis funny. I don't find John Richardson funny. I don't find Jason Manford funny at all.
Oh God.
Russell Howard
Okay.
isn't funny. Milton Jones isn't funny. Mickey Flanagan. All of these guys.
Jason
all of
Manford's
these
on
guys.
that show.
The Masked Singer. He was on.
Oh no, this isn't. I'm thinking of somebody else. Jason Manford. He does like a quiz show now too, right?
Yeah, he's on one of the panel shows. But like people like Lee Mack, I don't think. Like I've seen all of this.
Lee Mack's really funny. I like Lee Mack. I like David Mitchell.
I like Lee Mack as well, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, it's sometimes it's context too, right? Like I don't find some of these people I don't find funny in certain shows, but then in other shows they will be really funny if they're paired up with somebody or they have a good chemistry or whatever. Like they can be
Yeah.
funny. Like if some of these people, like you'll see them on something like Taskmaster, and you might not like them, but then you'll see them doing something different, and it'll be like, oh my god, actually they're kind of funny. Like I can't think of any examples of
you're
that.
right.
Oh no, that guy, the bearded guy, the what's his name? Joe something.
Joe Lycett is not a bearded, but he is. A
No,
Joe.
not Joe Lycett. He was in
I like Joe
he was
Lycett.
in Afterlife with Ricky Gervais.
Joe Brand.
No, he played the mailman in Afterlife with
I know
Ricky
the
Gervais.
guy. Yeah. That
And
guy.
he's funny enough. Like I don't dislike him. I don't find him like unfunny, but he's just like, it's kind of like, it's a bit, slobby sort of stoner humor, right? But like he's very funny in Taskmaster, for example, and I warmed to him a lot whilst watching.
I think
that.
there's
So,
it's all about context though, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that if you're with a crowd of people and you're in the right mood, I think we probably would laugh at any of the people we mentioned given the right setting and mood. And laughter is all about being comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm laughing out loud at any comedian, however funny they are,
No.
if I'm in an airport on my phone, or do you know what I mean?
Jimmy Carr, for example, I don't find particularly funny. And I think kind of when he became more known or well known, like when he was sort of like starting up or whatever. I went to see him live. He came over to Jersey and I went to see him, and some of it was actually funny, but again, because there was an audience and lots of people around you laughing and stuff like that, it's an experience more so, right?
Yeah, and
I don't think I would laugh if I watched one of his stand-ups, you know, like
I
in my
went to
living
see
room.
a comedian a few years ago. This is maybe 18 months ago, called Evo Graham, who you will have seen pop up on panel shows from time to time. He's not funny, like at all. He is extremely aggressively unfunny.
Right.
And I went to see him because my mate, well, this is some of my mates and me that live in London go to see stuff, and we're no judgment. Okay, so we arrange to go out, someone will arrange it, and we will go. Even if it doesn't seem like it's going to appeal to us, we will go to support the vibe of that group who goes to see stuff regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So I would never have gone to see Evo Graham ever, because I don't think he's funny. But my mate was like, we should go see him. I really like him. We were like, cool, no judgment, we're going. We were in the front row, and we sat there, and I did not even smile once. I wasn't trying. I wanted to be entertained. Believe me, I'd paid. Didn't even raise a smile.
Did you do like really heavy sighing every time, like you did a joke or anything?
No, I didn't want to be a dick.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to be a dick. The guy just isn't fucking funny. And the thing is, other people around me are laughing. And this is, I'm sure I've mentioned this before. If you are in a group of people and everyone's laughing and you're not, as long as they're not laughing at you, then it's very obvious that you fucked up. But what happens is you feel like you're missing out. Like, what am I missing out on? Like, why isn't this funny? That's why people take comedians very seriously. People get really angry about comedians that they don't like. Because you feel like you're missing out. You almost feel like you must be the butt of the joke. Why don't I get this? Everyone else finds this hilarious. But I'm watching this guy and people are laughing their asses off, and I'm like, what are you laughing at? Genuinely.
Yeah.
What is so funny? Like, I understand how this joke is constructed and everything like that. It almost makes me feel like I've got something wrong with my brain. It's so strange being in an audience with people who think something is hilarious and it's just doing nothing for you. Nothing. Yeah. It feels so weird.
What about being in an audience and a song comes on and everybody starts clapping along to the song? Though?
And you feel like, what? Yeah.
What are you fucking doing?
This?
Why are you clapping? Like along to the beat of the song. You wouldn't do that in any other situation. Like, why have you decided now to start doing this?
Some acts sort of encourage that shit. Like, they're like, come on. They sort of clap along sort of thing to try to get the audience going.
Okay, if it's We Will Rock You or something where there's clapping in the song, okay, sure, clap along. Like, fill your boots. But like, don't fucking start clapping along to like Rocket Man by Dave Bowie or something. Or David Bowie.
Who does that?
Don't start clapping along.
Clapping. It's a sad song.
Like Teen Spirit.
What are you doing?
By Savage Garden, for Christ's sake. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? There's some certain songs it's okay to clap to, and I'd say most of them it's not okay to clap along to a song. Okay. If you're 55 years old and you're clapping along to a song at a concert or whatever, you need some reevaluation needs to be done here. I think it's not good. It's not a good look.
You can clap along to like some German folk music. You know what I mean? What are they, Schlagers or whatever they're called?
Sure.
Like that's kind of thing where you're like, oh,
I'll
like clap
it,
along. That's the vibe. But if it's just a song, why are you clapping? Why are you clapping? I don't need to hear that. Shut up and let them play.
Yeah.
Let them play. We should do that in classical music, just to rub their faces in it, those classical music twats. Turn up to some concert, everybody starts clapping. Way like that. Let's see how you like it.
Coming back to the topic of comedy and what you think is funny and not, I started watching a show that was recommended to me on Netflix called I Think You Should Leave, which is like it's like American sketch comedy.
Yeah.
And I'm halfway through season 2, and overall I'd say I've enjoyed it, but it's very hit and miss for me.
It is very hit and miss.
Some of them I find absolutely hilarious. And some of them I just find not funny at all.
Did you watch series 1?
Yes, I watched all of series 1. Yeah.
One of my favorite sketches from that is the one where there's been a car crash in a clothing store.
Oh, the hot dog car.
It's a hot dog car.
Yes.
And everyone's like, who did this? And he's in a hot dog costume. He's like, yeah, who crashed this car? And I thought that was hilarious.
I love when the other guy was like, well, this guy's dressed like a hot dog as well. But it was just a suit. It was a suit the same color as his. Yeah, that shit was really funny. I thought that was
fucking funny.
Yeah.
But then there were some sketches, like you said, that are just like either just incredibly cringy awkward. He's saying some unbelievably awful thing in the wrong setting, and I think I don't find that particularly funny. Like I've never really enjoyed that.
It's too crude. I don't mind crude humor, but it's too. Sometimes it's like too crude, but like not at all funny either. I don't know. It's just it almost feels like it's trying too hard. But then there's just these moments of greatness where you can sort of see past all that. Like my favorite one from season 1 was the episode where they're in the restaurant and the guy starts choking, but because he's so starstruck about the guy that made the belt that he's wearing, who's at the same table, he doesn't want to like make a big deal about the fact that he's choking. Like his friend is like offering to call the ambulance and stuff. He's like, no. He's like fucking dying. He's choking. That was really funny. I love that one. I
really like the one with Ebenezer Scrooge where the skeletons keep coming through.
That was bizarre. Yeah, that was really funny though.
That was so weird, but really funny. But the one where the guys making up a song on the spot, like the band.
Yeah.
And he's the bones are their money, stuff like that, and ruining it. I just thought those are so funny.
Some of them are very funny,
but then some of them are just absolute turkeys.
I also really like the one. It could have gone the other way for me big time, but I really like the one with the like. Has this ever happened to you? The lawyer thing.
Has this ever happened to you? Bunch of guys come around and fix your house.
And the thing is, if it was just him riffing and inventing all this shit without the actors playing it out, it would not have been funny at all. But the fact that you had those guys doing turbo time and jumping on the couches and stuff, and then the joke toilet for farts only and stuff.
It's a toilet for farts.
Oh man, I was laughing so hard. But like also, again, context matters. A lot of the time I'm watching this whilst my kids are going to sleep, so I'm on my iPad with headphones trying not to laugh. So the really funny stuff comes up, and it's just like you feel like you're a 10-year-old in school again at the back of the class trying not to laugh.
I seem to recall watching this with my girlfriend, and she didn't find it funny at all.
Yeah, well,
and it was really
is
hard. I was like laughing, but then like I'd look over and she would not be laughing at all. She'd be like on her phone, like rolling her eyes, and I'd be like, that's what
No, I mean it is like that. It's a bit like it's kind of. It feels a lot like Tim and Eric humor, which is again not for everybody. Like some of the sketches that I found funny in I Think You Should Leave, I showed my wife, and she also found them very funny. But like I won't show her the whole thing because I know that she just won't have time for like the unfunny stuff, and it's not fair to make somebody sit through all of that. You know,
it kind of puts you off. I think especially if you watch a show and like the first sketch is so bad that you're just like, this is just awful.
Yeah,
it's really hard to win people back over to thinking, oh, actually, this is quite funny. And sort of imagine if you were a stand-up comedian, you came out and your first 3 jokes were abysmal. Yeah. It doesn't matter how good your 4th joke is.
No.
Like the audience is turned off.
It's hard to get people to stick around, isn't it?
It must be fucking hard being a comedian.
Yeah, it is. Well, a lot of them are, not all of them, but there's definitely like a theme of like depression and stuff in a lot of comedians, right? Because I think, I think, you know, probably it's like personality stuff, but also just the nature of what they're trying to do. They probably just feel like shit a lot of the time, because I'd imagine that when things go really well, they go really well. Right. You're untouchable. But then when, you know, you have a bad show and things flop or whatever, you must take it so badly.
It must suck.
It must really suck.
And you're alone. Yeah. You are alone up there.
Absolutely.
Like, that's the crazy thing.
You're just dying up there. Nobody's laughing and stuff. It must be awful.
Have you watched Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee?
I have, Again, I haven't watched all of them, though, because some of the comedians either I don't know and I don't really want to invest in finding out about them through that show, or some of them I just don't find funny enough to watch.
They are very hit and miss episodes, aren't they?
But the weird thing is for me, is anytime they talk about comedy, Jerry Seinfeld will say, it's the hardest job in the world. Hands down the hardest job in the world. And I'm thinking, probably the hardest, it must be one of the hardest
I don't think Jerry Seinfeld's ever worked on an oil rig, so what the fuck
exactly. I'm thinking, I don't think it is the hardest job in the world, but it's certainly the job where there are the fewest qualified people.
It's the hardest job he's ever done. He's been a comedian since he was 12, so, I mean, you know.
But, how many comedians are there? There's not that many good comedians.
It's true, yeah.
So I think it's very hard to succeed at, But I definitely think it's ridiculous to say this is the hardest job in the world.
I
would love it if someone was listening to that while they're doing like open heart surgery on someone or brain surgery or something. Or,
or they're like in a small African village with no running water, and they've got to like be the doctor for 2,000
and they're
villages or something.
At least I'm not a stand-up comedian.
I gotta say, I don't like the way that Jerry Seinfeld kind of takes it so seriously and like tries to science like the comedy. Like his sort of analysis of the whole thing is for me just a little bit off-putting. I don't like that too much. Like I get
there is a bit of that.
He's very successful. Like clearly knows what he's doing and stuff. But
there's a formula, though. There is a formula, and there is a science behind it. I think a lot of people do these comics do study comedy and have to figure out, But also they do a lot of testing. I think that's the other thing, which is really obvious any good act that you see has been tested for a year on little small audiences, and then they've recorded it and taken out the bits that didn't get a laugh and put the bits in that did get a laugh and ad-libbed and modified and changed. And that's why, when you say to someone if you say to a comedian, I'll make a joke then, they're like, well, I've got like my hour of material that I'm using and has been very carefully prepared for the next, that's going to be my touring material for the next year. Right. I'm going to do it over and over again. Do you know what I mean? But I have to make it feel authentic and like I'm telling these jokes for the first time. There's a whole science to it, right? For sure. It's meant.
Do you know what was funny? This is odd. We're talking about this. The other day, popped up on YouTube for some reason, Louis C.K. at George Carlin's wake, like the funeral or whatever. Now, this isn't. I'm not talking about Louis C.K. I don't want to get into all that stuff. But as a comedian, he was very funny, and I thought Louis was a really funny show and all the rest of it. Yeah. And the interesting thing is he had been around forever, and if you look back at a lot of 90s comedy stuff, Louis C.K. pops up occasionally on shows. Like he's just there in the background, not making it. He's not big. Nobody knows who the fuck he is. And the reason for that is that he spent 12 years, I think he said, touring with the same material, honing it a little bit, same like hour of material that he also had 5 minutes, he had 15 minutes, he had these sets that he worked on. And they were terrible, and he wasn't getting anywhere, and nobody really liked it. And he was playing these terrible gigs, like just at a restaurant. Yeah. Everyone would be eating, and they would just turn up at the restaurant and say, hey, and just start doing comedy, which is that is a tough room. And he said that he spoke to George Carlin and said, because he saw that George Carlin was bringing out a special every year. And he said to him, how the fuck do you do it? And he said, well, all I do is I do my year on tour, hone the material, and at the end of the year, I've got it just how I like it. We do the special, and then I throw all of it out and start again. And he's like, what do you mean? It's taken me 12 years to build up this hour of comedy that I've got. And he realized, if it's not fucking working, why am I sticking with this hour of comedy? So he just binned it off and started again. Yeah. And then became successful from there. Like, actually started saying stuff he wanted to say rather than trying to tailor it to what he thinks audiences will like. Yeah. So I think it's interesting.
It is interesting for sure. I like, I don't know if you've watched much about, or like, I'm sure you know about Richard Pryor, but there's a couple of good documentaries about just his life and lead up to him becoming
crazy childhood,
very, very famous, and it again very interesting, like just very like a very interesting person to watch a documentary on, and just a very interesting time as well in which he sort of came up and his background and everything.
I think he said where he grew up was like a really, really weird environment. A lot of people around him were like musicians. Or
he grew up in a whorehouse. Yeah, he was raised in a whorehouse. Yeah,
all of these people, and I think that's why if you look at Richard Pryor, he has this ability to transform himself into another character for a bit, whether it's like Mudbone or one of his sort of famous characters, or whether it's just a story that he's telling.
I think it's
because obviously he was watching these people for so long as a kid, and probably very quiet because he's not a big guy. He's like a little skinny kid watching these people and just absorbing their mannerisms and the humor of it and sticking it into his comedy. I think a lot of the time those kind of people, like you said, they're depressed, or they're like, I know Chris Rock was apparently really badly bullied at school. He was the only black kid in his school. Comedy for a lot of these guys is an escape. So I think a lot of the time they're made rather than, your sort of comedian is made by their environment and how they grew up and what they had to do. Yeah. And some of them just sort of fell into it because they just found that they were really funny and smart. But a lot of them, the really great comedians, I think, were sort of made that way by their environment more than anything else.
For sure.
I really don't like Ed Byrne.
No, I'm not a fan.
I really don't like Ed Byrne. Sorry. So going back Going back, so this week, by the way, I thought I'd fill you in on something really interesting that I did. It was a friend's birthday, and we drove a couple of hours into the Cotswolds to this little, like, hobby zoo, it feels like, called Crocodiles of the World. You can look it up. It's near to Clarkson's farm, so why not make a day of it?
Fuck me, man.
You know, you can go to the Diddly Squat farm shop, and also Crocodiles of the World. So it's this little, kind of feels like some rich guy, or, you know, like kind of or animal enthusiast set up this sort of, I guess, a sanctuary. It's quite small. It's quite weird. It's basically a very, very hot warehouse, really hot, with loads of crocodiles in it. But they've also got some Galapagos turtles, tortoises. I can't remember which one is it. Is it tortoise?
They're tortoises.
Yeah, and they're the huge ones. They're like the biggest ones in the world. And my friend is a big fan of tortoises. So
how do they define themselves as a big fan of tortoises?
Yeah, do they own one? Because I do.
Yeah, they own one. They've also got a bunch of other reptiles, like a snake and a...
So is this the magnet person? Is this the magnet?
Yes,
yeah, I
same
fucking
person.
knew it right away. There you go. Carry on.
Well, who is this fucking magnet person who collects reptiles in your life?
I'll introduce you.
Okay.
He's lovely.
Right.
He's nice. Well, his name's Tom, which is awkward because everyone else
a
is
million
called Tom in my
fucking
life.
Toms.
I know.
Jesus Christ.
So we went here, and obviously for his birthday we got him this present, which was you get to hang out with the Galapagos turtles and feed them and, like, you know, and meet them basically, right?
Right.
So we get our wellies in and we go, and then we have like a safety talk, and they're like blah blah blah. It's like you have to wear these steel toe cap wellies because if they step on your foot, apparently they're very heavy. Yeah. Not only that, but they will like properly bite your finger if you're not careful. So you have to be a little bit careful with them because their jaws are quite strong.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, they're huge.
I was like, I didn't really know what to expect. So we go into this little sort of enclosure they've got for them. And immediately, these giant turtles, like they're very big, like they're huge. I'll post a picture later on Instagram, but they're huge. They came barreling at us, okay. But then, as soon as they reached us, they froze, stood up as tall as they could, and just like was stock still. And apparently, it's a behaviour because they have no natural predators on the Galapagos Islands. Yeah. They automatically want to be like I guess not tickled, but the finches that come down and nip off the dead skin and the bugs and stuff land on them. They like all the little animals surrounding them, basically. Right. And it's obviously it's called finching, the behaviour. And they just stand there, so they're so docile, and you can give them a pat and a stroke and tickle them, and they seem to really love it. And then they'll just eat lettuce out of your hand if you're careful. And man, they're like, it was amazing. So I thought they were going to be a bit snappy, a bit pushy, a bit, I don't know, just a bit aggressive. Yeah. But they're just so chill. Mm-hmm. They're so docile. It's kind of sad in the sense that they're obviously it's very. Anytime you go to anywhere, it's always tinged with sadness that this fucking animal's die now, or these fish are being choked by ring pulls and plastic pollution. And do you know what I mean? It's you can't go to a zoo without everyone telling you that these crocodiles are being made into bags, these crocodiles are being made into shoes. You know, these crocodiles these are the last ones. You know, it's pretty awful. But it is nice to see the animals. And these turtles obviously very endangered, but you can see why, and it's because they're so trusting.
They have no survival instinct.
They have absolutely none whatsoever.
So they had no predators on the Galapagos?
No, nothing. So they were the top of the food chain.
What kept their population down?
It didn't. They were all over the place. There were loads of them.
Well, people were trying to transport them back to England and stuff, and then eating them along the way, weren't they? That famously so with Galapagos tortoises. Yeah, apparently their meat is very nice, but
that's why none of them made it back. Apparently, yeah.
Well, they got eaten on the way. They were like, you know what?
Well, the king
would like this, but we could just eat it.
Yeah.
Oh yes, good idea, Captain.
Pretty much.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, they stacked them up and just nommed them all. Apparently, I don't know if that's true, but the thing is, because they're so rare and old as well. The one that I met was they didn't even know how old he was. They said 80 to 100 years or more. It could be older, because when they pick them up off the Galapagos, they don't know how old they are. And it's been... if it's 100 years old, no one's checking. They weren't breeding them back in, the 1920s for us to know. So it's kind of interesting to see animals that are. Man, it's just so cool. It was so cool meeting this Galapagos turtle. I had a really great time. I didn't think I would be as endeared to it as I was, but I think I was just surprised by how he didn't give a fuck and was just like really friendly. So because I think like you understand that with domesticated animals, they've been trained to
and bred
to behave a certain way, but this clearly isn't that. It's a wild animal, but his behavior, I guess, is not through his reaction to humans. It's more through natural reaction of, I'm the biggest thing on this island, I don't know, nothing can fuck with me, type thing. And apparently even like when all the invasive species of the dogs and rats and cats and stuff getting on the island, they don't even fuck with the big turtles at all.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, genuinely?
Well, apparently because they'll squash you. Like they'll just step on you and you'll be dead, and then they'll eat you.
Oh man,
apparently.
I had a terrible dream yesterday on the topic of rats. Sorry to derail. What
no,
you're saying.
I want to hear about this.
I walked through my backyard, and it was at night because I'd heard something outside. So I was walking in my backyard, and then I took one step into my backyard, and it made some noise.
This is the dream.
Yeah, this is the dream.
Right.
And there's like somehow there's a trench at the back of my backyard that's not actually there. And I looked over at the trench, and it was like filling up with rats. They were coming like from under the fence and running towards me, and
terrifying.
I started running away. Yeah, I didn't want to. And then I think one of them bit me, but I didn't look at my foot to see if I'd been bitten. I had like a status indicator floating saying that I had a rat bite. So I think I've been playing too many video games, but I don't know where the rats come from. But
have you been killing rats in an MMO, and this is your brain telling you maybe we shouldn't be killing all these rats?
No, not overly. Like I just something deep in my brain just decided, like it felt like a bit of a mix of like maybe Zomboid and something else in that dream. But yeah, it was really weird.
Do you guys remember? Yeah. This is almost certainly before your time. There was an author called James Herbert who wrote a lot of books in the 70s and 80s. There were a bunch of them. Sean Huston was another guy that were like horror novels. And Frank Herbert's most famous is The Rats, which is about
James Herbert. Frank Herbert.
Sorry, James Herbert. Correction, James Herbert. I get my Herberts mixed up all the time.
Right,
me too.
He wrote this book called The Rats, which is about like the UK being overrun by these killer rats, and it's incredibly graphic.
It's incredibly similar to that dream.
Very similar. That's what made me think of it. And I thought maybe Sips had been reading The Rats, but
no, I have not read The Rats. And actually, now that you mention it, I will not be reading The Rats either.
I'm just going to look up a list of Sean Huston's books. Here's one called Spawn.
Oh,
there's one called he did the UK novelization of The Terminator. He did one called The Skull. Slugs was probably his most famous, which is about a group of killer slugs.
Man, I'm gonna have to read these.
They are hilariously awful.
I've been reading some old sci-fi lately, and I've really been enjoying it. But sometimes it's really out of touch, these old sci-fi, right? Like, for example, there was this book I was reading. It was written in, I think, 1963 or something like that. And obviously, they hadn't sent the probes up to Mars at that point, and they didn't know that Martians didn't exist. It was still this. But it was set 20 years in the future. So it was set in sort of 85 or 1990. Written in 1963. They were all talking about Martians as if they were a thing. And of course, actually, the book almost within 5 years or something. It hadn't been very long after the book had been out that we'd actually got some pretty good quality. I think it was Voyager or something. One of the missions in the early 70s that saw that there definitely weren't Martians. But up until that point, I guess that it was just in the popular consciousness that it was the easiest way to describe aliens as Martians, and to write this whole story about people coming from Mars. And I mean, it was a fine book, but it just didn't need the Mars aspect. It could have just been like aliens from anywhere. Do you know what I mean? They didn't have to be from Mars, but because it sort of dated itself massively with this idea. So yeah, it's really interesting to read these old books through and look at when they were written and try and think about that stuff, because it really influences them, and I'm having a lot of fun reading these old books because they're actually a lot shorter. These old sci-fi and horror books than modern books. You read a Brandon Sanderson book, it's like reading it's like reading 10 old books. They're massive. Do you know what I mean? Like, even Lord of the Rings, that was 3 books originally. Nowadays that's just a normal book, isn't it? The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had that to say. The other thing I was thinking about was Zoe Deschanel.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. We're back.
And UK glamour models, right, as a result. Because when we were young, before the internet, we had big pillowy breasted women who showed their breasts in men's magazines.
We did?
AKA the good old days.
The good old days. And they were a very specific type of British woman.
They
and
looked
I wonder
like
if they're still
extras
going.
from Benny Hill, like just relatively small-waisted, but that wasn't that important. Big bosoms, big happy smiles, big hair because it was the 80s. And yeah, there was a type. They all had to basically fit the mold of like Sam Fox. If you look at Sam Fox from the 80s, she was like the archetypal, this is what hot women look like, Sam Fox. And then Baywatch was like exactly the same. Blam, blam, blam. That's pretty much it. Huge boobs.
I think they still exist in the form of footballers' wives now. These sort of famous for just having big, voluptuous bosoms.
I don't think there's as many women who are just famous for their boobs as there were back in the 80s.
But I think you can still make a living for it if
I'm
you're...
sure, Lewis. I'm just saying. But I mean, there's a million of these women out there now doing porn.
But these days with porn and OnlyFans, it's such an innocent thing, though, the glamour model thing. It's like, it's just the boobs. It's just a big smiley face. It's just pictures. It's like, I don't know. It's very. It's a mark from a more innocent time, is what I'm saying.
Compared to
nowadays, you could. There's someone's stepsister is dressed as a character from Overwatch, and they're like, I don't know, doing some really weird stuff.
You're right. It's lost its innocence.
Oh man, I sound like the biggest boomer in the world, but I don't want to get graphic, is what I'm saying. I'm just saying that there was a time, and I know some people like the more titillating thing where they don't see anything. Do you know what I mean? And it's like it's hotter for them to have all the clothes on type thing. I just for some reason you talking about Zoe Deschanel because she was that girl next door. She had that sort of innocent, cutesy look about her, right?
She was meant to be the kind of quirky girlfriend, I think, was kind of what she was.
Yeah, and she was in the romantic comedy as that, that girlfriend material. And I think being however old she is, 40, 41 or 42, I think now, it's like around the age that is, that's like our generation.
That's quirky mum vibe rather than quirky girlfriend vibe, right? At that age.
Yeah, it is now. Yeah, I'm surprised she's not doing more like movies as a mum. There must be roles, but maybe not. It's just.
But I think the biggest question you got to ask is, can she act? Like, was her whole shtick? Look at me, I'm
just
cute
the
and
big
adorable,
doe eyes
but actually can't act in a very interesting way. I think that's the reason quite a few of these young people that are in movies. It does happen to women an awful lot more, where there's a gap where they're not allowed to be the love interest anymore because God forbid they're 40. I mean, if you're a dude, you can have a 30-year-old girlfriend in a movie and no one's meant to blink. Like, if you look at In the Line of Fire with fucking Clint Eastwood, he's a million years old in that movie. And Renee Russo? I think was his girlfriend. Hold on. In the Line of Fire, which was a movie that came out in, let me think, 1993. And it's got Clint Eastwood and Renee Russo. So he was born in, hold on a sec. Just let me do this because this matters to me. This is important. So Clint Eastwood was born in 1930. Renee Russo was born in 1954. So she is 24 years his junior. But in the movie, there's no doubt that she's attracted to him immediately. Like, this happens in Hollywood movies. The dude can be any age, but the woman has to be a certain age. At the very least, she has to be 20 to 30 years younger than the man for us to genuinely believe that he would be interested in her. That's a thing that happens in Hollywood all the time. So I think that's the issue that people have.
Well, there's a feedback loop as well, because we've seen it so much that now we see two people who are the same age getting married, and you're thinking, wow, she's old.
Yeah, exactly. It's not right,
weird.
man. It's not right. So I think a lot of women like Zoe Deschanel who've been actors and had success, they were sort of oh yeah, we love you, Zoe. You're going to play the cute love interest who's kind of ditzy and can sing, and it surprises everyone. Oh my goodness, she can sing as well. Great. And then you get 10 years of that. And then it's like, what have you got for me? No, we found someone else that can fill that role now. So you'll have to wait until you're in your 60s. And then it'll be like, oh, wow, Zoe Deschanel, she still looks great. And you can come out of the woodwork and act again. Now you can play the hot mum, basically, when you're older.
Yeah, that's how it works. I don't think there's any way around it. And it's inevitable that we are going to fall into the same pitfall trap. Once people
honestly,
realise we are not
audiences
funny.
are a problem. Audiences are a problem. They'll accept this shit. Stop accepting it. If you don't like it, don't watch. But apparently a lot of people do like it and do accept it. So
Love it or leave it.
love it. Yeah, sure. I don't know why that applies, but yes.
It's just a famous quote from a famous movie. I don't know if you remember a little movie called Born on the 4th of July, baby.
Right. That's what it's from.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That took a bit of a tangent at the end there when I just
Yeah.
dropped in
It's called a callback, Lewis. It's
the
important.
pillowy boobs. Man, just
Well.
thinking about them for some reason.
Just thinking
those-
about pillowy boobs.
it's good to think about. It's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I think it's a nice thought to end the podcast on.
Absolutely.
Everyone likes
Who doesn't?
a set of
Big titties.
Pillowy boob.
Just a big titties.
yeah. All right, well,
Bazongas.
there you go. That is the podcast for today.
Yes.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Hey,
There
thanks
are
for
new episodes
listening.
on Spotify.
New
Wednesday.
episodes on Spotify every Wednesday.
He just said that. Do I need to say it as well?
He just said that.
New episodes available on Spotify on Wednesday.
I don't think you should be playing Final Fantasy next week when we do this.
I wasn't
because
playing it the whole
it's
time, but
been
I
hard.
was playing it a little bit at the end.
I know you are now. I can tell. You're on like auto repeat. It's like talking to an answer phone.
Oh,
All right.
man.
Bye, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.